Yo, what's up, baby? It's Fordee from Can't Stop Art, and today we are taking what we learned from yesterday, which was how to mount a canvas or stretch it over a frame, right? In fact, this is the one I did for the video. You can see it's a little bit different color than this one. That's because they're two different types of canvas. This is a little bit more expensive, and anyway, when you do this particular canvas is untreated, it's unprimed. And if you want to paint on it with acrylic, you're gonna wanna add gesso. Gesso is a primer used for acrylic paint. And the reason you wanna do that is if we do not prime this or we do not add gesso, and I have some gesso here, then what will happen is when you paint with acrylic paint, the fibers of the canvas will soak up that acrylic paint and dull it down. It won't react the same. The paint won't smoothly go over the canvas. There's several reasons. Now, gesso is not just used for canvas, right? You can use gesso on top of a vinyl record, for example. If you paint it with gesso, let it dry. What happens is gesso hardens after it dries, and it gives a little bit of tooth, right? And that tooth allows the acrylic paint to adhere to it, bond to it much easier. If you painted on a vinyl record, for example, with acrylic paint, and you did not gesso it first, then potentially, if there was any disturbance, that paint would just peel off away from the vinyl record. But with gesso, that won't be the case. So, this particular canvas is untreated. We're gonna need to add a layer of gesso. However, I wanted to show you, this is a store-bought canvas. Excuse the fact that there's some spots on it. I don't know what I spilled on this. Maybe it was from another painting, or I don't know. Anyways, it looks like coffee spots. But so this particular canvas that you buy from the store comes pre-primed or gessoed. However, sometimes you still want to add your own coat. It depends. When you paint on a canvas, then this is one way to tell. For example, especially if you paint in realism. When you paint in a canvas, if you find that the paint is not moving smoothly over the canvas, that may be one reason to add a couple coats of gesso. If you notice that the paint, when you paint on, absorbs into the canvas, then maybe it wasn't primed enough. So sometimes you're going to want to add your own coat of gesso, even though it's already been pre-primed, right? But for sure, if you're using rolled canvas that is not treated, you need to add gesso. Now, there's different types of gesso. There's artist quality and student quality. The difference between the two is artist quality has more pigment and less binder. Student quality has more binder and less pigment. Obviously, the reality is artist quality is not very expensive. I don't remember what I paid for this. I should have looked before I started doing this video. But I don't think this is more than 10 euros or $10 or whatever, right? And this will cover many canvases because you only need a light coat. Here's the other thing about gesso, is gesso comes in different colors. This is a black gesso. I think these are from the same company, right? Pebo. But you can even get them in other colors too. However, usually what I do is I paint with a white gesso. Unless there's a reason to paint with black, I don't do other colors, because if I paint with the white gesso, then what I'll end up doing is painting a ground. A ground is a color that you paint over the canvas before you start your painting. And the reason that you do that is, for example, if you build your painting up in layers, this is going to give you more texture, more difference, subtle differences in the way the light hits the painting, etc. And so when I use this white, I'll put a ground on top of it. If I use the color gesso, then technically that would be my ground, right? So yeah, anyways, let me show you how easy this is to do, right? So if we come in here, we are going to take a brush. This is not a very expensive brush. I use it for things like this. We're going to dip it, and we're going to give a light coat of gesso on this canvas. Now, you can thin gesso just like acrylic paints with water. So if I find that this is not gliding over the canvas as well as I want it to, another reason it needs to be gessoed, I'm going to reach over here. I've got a spray bottle, boom. I could spray this canvas. It's going to make this stuff move just a little bit easier, right? And it's really that simple. What you want to do though is put a coat and then check, right? Because maybe you put one, you put two coats, etc. I've heard some people even put three. I've never put 3 coats of gesso on a canvas, but yeah, maybe there's a reason for it. If you know what that reason would be, please let me know. Is it because you're using a really poor quality canvas, or is it because you're extremely OCD? I mean, I am OCD, so but I've never found the need. So as we're going here, I have nothing to protect underneath on my table. Not a big deal because I get paint over everything in my house. I swear most of my clothes, they have some paint on them, right? It is what it is. It's a sign of your job, right? I just prefer it to be artistic looking, the paint splatters on my clothes. Anyway, so spray a little more, make this stuff move better. And here's another thing. If you, oh, we see all this paint coming here, so I'm gonna have to clean this later, but that's fine, no biggie. Another thing is this, beginner artists will find that if you put a couple of coats of gesso, it will be easier for you to paint, right? Because working the paint into the canvas, for example, is a technique that you pick up over time. The longer you've painted, the more you understand how to work with canvases, how to work with your brushes. Different brushes provide different effects, and getting in between the crevices of the texture of the canvas is something that you pick up over time. Of course, this also depends on the style of painting that you use, right? Certain styles of paintings, this will matter less. So, almost done here. I should paint the sides. In fact, I'm going to paint the sides, but just for this video, I'm just going to paint the top just to show you what it looks like, and then you leave it to dry, right? After a couple hours, this should be dry, ready for another coat. And then once that dries, then you're ready to start painting. I suggest painting a ground on the back of the painting, which will allow you to have difference in the light, the way it hits it. But again, it depends the style of painting that you're using. I hope you found that this tutorial was useful and beneficial. Please share it with your friends if you did. If you have desires for future videos that you'd like to see, like to learn, etc., please let me know. I'm planning actually to paint this canvas for the next video. I haven't decided exactly what I'm gonna do just yet, but let's see, right? We need more subscribers, guys, so that I can turn on certain features in YouTube. So please tell your friends about the channel, share the videos, enjoy your time in quarantine, although maybe this statement will be invalid in months to come when there's no longer quarantine. I hope, right? Anyways, guys, until next time, I'm out.